fans celebrate as Atletico Madrid wins the Spanish championship for the first time in 18 years. Good morning, you're watching i24 News. I'm Meredith Ross. Now to our top story. We begin in India, where the newly elected Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited one of his two constituencies, the North Indian temple town of Varanasi, in order to celebrate his electoral triumph. He took part in a Hindu ceremony on the banks of the river Ganges, where hundreds of people had gathered to greet him. Modi took the opportunity to lash out at the Congress party, which led the outgoing ruling coalition.
For the first time ever after independence, a non-Congress party single-handedly has got a clear majority to serve the people of this country. We have seen governments being formed from coalition, but for the first time it seems that even the formation of recognizable opposition in the Indian parliament would require some sort of coalition. Till now there was no strong opposition. The people of the country have slapped them in such a way that they have to first try and set a recognizable opposition in the first place.
And a short while ago, I spoke with Anuj Sangal, senior editor at India's CNBC TV 18. I asked him how Modi's Hindu nationalistic sentiment will affect the country.
Yeah, Mr. Modi on record has actually gone on record, even after elections, that for him, Hinduism is actually a way of life, not a religion. And in fact, in his first statement, he said that he would like to take the entire 1.25 billion people of India. Even regarding his foreign policy, he was very clear that in today's world, no country can have bad relations with any particular government. But he has been very clear that India was being a bit soft with some of the countries of late. That is something that India will have to change. So quite clearly, a lot of people believe that he will be a bit more tough with Pakistan. He will not follow the kind of diplomacy that even Atal Bihari Vajpayee followed, the Lahore burst strategy. He will make it very clear that the insurgency from what Indians believe is Pakistan-sponsored, that has to stop before any meaningful talks have to take place. So his foreign policy will be made more clear once his cabinet is known, once it's known who will be the defense minister of India. There's a good chance that it will be the former Major General of India who has actually won elections.
Moving now to Vietnam, police in Hanoi broke up an anti-China rally urging protesters near the Chinese embassy to go home. Vietnamese demonstrators protest the Haiyang 981 oil rig, which Beijing moved to a disputed area in the South China Sea. The government said it would take all necessary measures to protect Vietnam's sovereignty. Vietnam claims the area is part of its exclusive economic zone. In response to the hostile atmosphere in Hanoi, China ordered the evacuation of more than 3,000 of its nationals from Vietnam. According to Chinese media, Beijing arranged charter flights and ships to help more people leave. Vietnam and China have a long feud over territorial waters in the South China Sea, an area in which the Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei, and Taiwan also claim territory. And in other world news, Cyprus is set to hold a large multinational crisis management exercise in Larnaca early next week. The drill will be executed in the framework of a national crisis management action plan, Estia, providing for the mass evacuation and repatriation of citizens from a third country in the region via Cyprus. Among the countries taking part in the exercise are the U.S., UK, France, Germany, Canada, and Australia. All countries are members of the non-combatant evacuation coordination group, to which Cyprus became a member last year. And we are joined now on the phone by Nathan Morley, a senior Cyprus journalist based in Cyprus. Thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. Now, this exercise concerns mass evacuation and repatriation of citizens from a country in the Middle East. Which country could this refer to?
Well, it's referring to two countries in particular, to which plans have been drawn up for. One is obviously Syria, because of the unstable situation there, and the Lebanon as well, because as you will recall, in 2006, when the Lebanon crisis was happening, there was actually a real mass evacuations of citizens from Canada, the Philippines, Australia, the United States, the United Kingdom. We're talking many thousands of people were evacuated. So they're the countries in the picture, but obviously that they are looking at the entire region. They are saying, you know, well, this scenario could apply to anywhere within the greater Middle East.
Right, and these countries that you mentioned don't need repatriation, but in terms of Syria that you also mentioned, why hasn't the plan actually been implemented already, considering the situation there?
Well, it hasn't been implemented because there really hasn't been a call for third nationals who have been in a desperate situation to get out. Many people did, when the crisis hit a peak last year, or what was seen as a peak then, many foreigners from France and the United Kingdom made their own way out, some via Turkey, some when Damascus airport was still open. We don't actually know how many people are still in Damascus and Syria, but should the civil war escalate, this plan would be put into place to get those remaining foreign citizens out. But as I say, we don't actually have a figure at the moment.
I see. Well, Mr. Morley, thank you very much for being with us today.
Good to talk to you.
And in the latest from the heavy floodings in the central Balkans, rescue efforts continued yesterday in the Serbian town of Obrenovac. Floodwaters in the region led to the evacuation of all 25,000 residents. 30 people were reported dead as Serbia, Bosnia, and Croatia were hit by the worst floods in a century. Here's more from the i24 News Desk.
At least 30 people have died in massive floods after 4 months' worth of rain fell in a matter of days across Bosnia and Serbia. Several rivers burst their banks and there are reports of houses being buried by landslides. Tens of thousands are being forced to flee their homes. In the Bosnian town of Dobro Jelon, the mayor said more than 20 corpses